Tell me a story about the prophets past and how their teachings last today.
Al-Quran Al-Karim Radio of Australia presents Islamic Stories for Kids.
Tell me a tale of how the good will prevail and how the lessons paved our way.
Prepared and presented by Jabir Al-Tayyibi and Adam Raihani.
Tell me a story.
The boy who saved his people. There was once a boy named Musa who lived in Egypt with his mother and sister. He was an Israelite, a descendant of Prophet Ibrahim, and he belonged to a people who were oppressed and enslaved by the cruel Pharaoh. Pharaoh was a tyrant who claimed to be God and forced the people to worship him. He feared that one day a boy from the Israelites would grow up and challenge his authority. So he ordered his soldiers to kill every newborn boy amongst them.
Musa's mother was very afraid for her son's life, but she trusted in Allah and followed his guidance. Allah inspired her to put Musa in a basket and place it in the river Nile. She told her daughter to follow the basket and see where it would go. She prayed that Allah would protect her son and return him to her.
The basket floated along the river until it reached the palace of the Pharaoh. There, it was found by the Pharaoh's wife, Asiyah, who was a kind and pious woman. She felt sorry for the baby and decided to adopt him as her own son. She asked the Pharaoh to spare his life, and he agreed, thinking that the boy would be loyal to him.
Musa grew up in the palace, unaware of his true identity and origin. He was given the best education and training, but he also felt a connection with the oppressed Israelites. He would often visit them and help them with their hardships. He hated the injustice and cruelty of Pharaoh and his soldiers.
One day when Musa was a young man, he saw a soldier beating an Israelite. He intervened and tried to stop him, but in the process he accidentally killed the soldier. He realized that he had committed a grave mistake and feared that the Pharaoh would punish him. He fled from the palace and escaped to a land called Madian.
There, he met two sisters who were having trouble watering their sheep. He helped them and then rested under a tree. He prayed to Allah to guide him and provide for him. Allah answered his prayer and sent him a man who offered him a job and a marriage with one of his daughters. Musa accepted and settled in Madian for many years.
One day, Allah spoke to Musa from a burning bush and told him that he was chosen as a prophet. He gave him two miracles, a staff that could turn into a snake and a hand that could shine brightly when placed under his arm. He commanded him to go back to Egypt and free his people from the Pharaoh's tyranny.
Musa obeyed Allah and returned to Egypt with his brother Harun, who was also a prophet. They went to Pharaoh and showed him the signs of Allah, but Pharaoh was arrogant and stubborn.
He refused to let the Israelites go and challenged Musa to a contest with his magicians. The magicians threw their ropes and sticks and made them appear like snakes. But Musa threw his staff and it swallowed all their fake snakes. The magicians realized that Musa had the truth from Allah and they became believers. But Pharaoh was furious and threatened to kill them.
Allah sent many plagues upon Pharaoh and his people, such as frogs, lice, blood, locusts, hail, darkness, and more. But each time they begged Musa to pray for them and promise to let the Israelites go. They broke their promise and they continued their oppression.
Finally, Allah told Musa to take his people and leave Egypt at night. Musa gathered the Israelites and led them towards the sea. But Pharaoh soon found out about their escape and chased them away with his army.
The Israelites were trapped between the sea and Pharaoh's army. They feared that they would be captured or killed. But Musa trusted in Allah and said, "No! Indeed, with me is my Lord. He will guide me."
Then Allah commanded Musa to strike the sea with his staff. As he did so, the sea parted into two walls of water, leaving a dry path in between. Musa and his people crossed the sea safely, while Pharaoh and his army followed them.
When they reached the middle of the sea, Allah ordered Musa to strike the sea again with his staff. The walls of water collapsed on Pharaoh and his army, drowning them all. Allah saved Musa and his people from the enemy and showed his power and mercy.
Musa thanked Allah for his favor and praised him for his greatness. He continued to lead his people according to Allah's guidance until he passed away as a noble prophet.
Tell me a story about the prophets past and how their teachings last today.
Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we have just listened together to an episode of Islamic Stories for Kids.
Tell me a tale of how the good will prevail and how the lessons paved our way.
Presented by Jabir At-Tayyibi and Adam Raihani. This is Al-Quran Al-Karim Radio of Australia.
Tell me a story.